Hello. Thank you for being here in our special show where we have a focus of how to study during the holidays. The holidays are coming up, and sometimes we, as students, want to take that time to relax and do nothing. So I'm going to give you lots of reasons why maybe we need a different approach to our holidays. So before I begin, let's go around the room and introduce ourselves, see who's here.
I'm Stacy Maxwell. I'm the Academic Systems Director for the district.
I'm Monica Silva, and I'm in 7th grade.
Maria Fernandez. I'm the Math Director at the district.
I'm Nina Uday, and I'm in 7th grade at Lexi PCA Mesquite West.
And my name is Laura Amanda Williams. I have a daughter who is in 7th grade at Legacy Preparatory Charter Academy.
So thank you for being here. One of the things that I need to do first is to give you reasons why. Why should we ask our children not to relax so much during the holidays that they do absolutely nothing academic? So let me give you some reasons. I researched a little bit. And first of all, your brain is a muscle, and it needs to be worked. Some of you are athletes or like to exercise your bodies, and you know what happens when you don't exercise for a week, right? You get stiff. It's hard getting back into it. So your brain is the same way. So your brain is a muscle. We also need to make sure that when we do enter into studying, that we do it as part of a routine and not count on willpower. I think sometimes parents want to trust their kids to say, I think they're going to do their softwares. I think that they're reading, but they're really in their room on the phone or on their device. And so let's make sure that establishing a routine that's agreed upon between the parent and the child is part of our conversation the weekend before a holiday. So let's see. We need to also get into a pattern of thinking about what you can do while you're in your holiday to better prepare yourself for the next week or when school starts again. For example, I'm not sure that we have many students who know to go into their backpack and clean it out. Pull the notes from the backpack or the binder. It could be a binder and or backpack, right? That we pull out, we put it on our bed, and we look through it, and we organize it, and we get rid of some of those things that are making our backpacks way too heavy, and maybe old food wrappers, and organize our notes. It's imperative that to start a good routine at home on the holidays that you do a simple thing like that. Pull out your backpack, look at your binder, organize your notes, and start thinking about some of the things that you maybe need to know and study a little bit more about, because you know that your teacher's going to revisit it when you come back to school. So I'm not going to talk a lot about the softwares because I'm going to let Ms. Maxwell talk about that in a minute. But we do need to remind parents that we have academic competitions coming up, and we'll start listing those in a minute. But those are things that can be done that don't necessarily have to be hard to do. Matter of fact, what if you gathered, or your child gathered his or her friends, and you had a pretend spelling bee, or you had a pretend multiplication drills, or you had pretend division drills, or even math facts for the lower grades? What if you gathered the cousins and you had a pretend spelling bee with two sides? You see how fun that could be? Mm-hmm. A pretend spelling bee is just as good as far as working your brain as a real one, because you want to win, right? If you're going to do that, you want to win. So those are sort of fun ways to enter into the routine of studying during the holidays. Let's see, what else do I have here? You want to extend your knowledge. A lot of times we have students who have enjoyed their projects and wanted to know more about them, but it was time to move on, right? So now you get an opportunity to possibly study the topic that you revisited or that you visited during your project, but you revisit it in an area of interest that you want to take it in. You don't have to go the direction your teacher wanted you to go in. Now you get to study more about whatever topic really sort of caught your interest, but there wasn't enough time to dwell on it during school time. So there's lots of ways of making this study habit interesting to you and not something that is forced on you or you feel forced to do that. Let's see. So there are lots of reasons besides your brain being a muscle to establish a routine during the holidays to study. Again, it's never safe to completely crash and relax and chill to the point where the only thing you've done besides eat is to talk on the phone with your friends. That's not going to move you forward at all. And frankly, it is school and education that will move you forward as an adult. So keeping your eye on the long game instead of the short fun of the holiday is part of your work as both parents to help kids understand that and the children themselves to embrace that more than they really want to. So I've talked a little bit about why we should do that. Now let's talk about how we can keep children studying in ways that are not too tedious. You know, in the old days, it was books, right? It was and packets and things that were not as entertaining. Today, instruction can be very entertaining. Matter of fact, that's something we're finding with some of our softwares. So, Ms. Maxwell, you want to talk a little bit about the softwares that we offer students and what grades, please?
Yes, we have a numerous or various programs that we use within our school on a day-to-day basis that all the students can access at home as well. And it's a lot more entertaining than going to the packet that you're used to seeing over the holidays. This is something that can keep the kids engaged while they're still on that device that's, glued to their hand. So we have iStation, which is a reading program for grades K through 5, and all the kids get on it every day and know their logins. We have Dreambox, which is a new math program that we use K through 2, which just makes mathematics fun and game-oriented. We have Imagine Math, which is grades 3 through 12, and the students get on and work on specific skills that they need help with. We have Achieve 3000, which is grades 4 through 8, and this is a program which gives them articles on current events that they can read at their own reading level and answer questions about. And then we have a new program coming to Legacy, which is Lexia Learning, and this is a reading program, and it's grades K through 12. And the students get on and are assessed at their own ability and then are given fun activities to increase their reading. And then we do have Edgenuity, and this is for our high school students that are working on credit recovery or on test prep or anything else, and they can access this at home, and this is a wonderful way for them to get ahead in all their coursework.
Matter of fact, let me remind while I'm thinking about it that Edgenuity, when you say test prep, it's not test prep for STAR. This is test prep for college courses and for the college
entrance exam.
So
yes.
Is it both SAT, pre-SAT, and TSI?
Yes, ma'am. It is all three of those. We can also put students on there for specific subjects. If they're struggling in math in a certain area, we can put them on Edgenuity just for math, just for writing, so that they get extra practice. There is also for all levels, Khan Academy, which is free, and students can go on there and they can study anything that they may have questions about, and it gives them a different way of looking at a concept that they're studying.
Khan Academy is a series of videos in a myriad of content areas: chemistry, physics, math, and you have somebody who's explaining that concept in possibly a different way than what your teacher taught it, and maybe sometimes more understandable. It just depends on the learning style and the learning brain of the student. So making sure that our older students understand that they have lots of resources available to them to tap into, that's part of their responsibility as a student, to know where to go to find more information in an area that they're maybe just not it's just not coming as easily maybe as some others. Because frankly, as our kids go up in grades, they do have harder maths, they do have harder sciences. And so having these resources available to them, which frankly your parents didn't, and you all are very lucky to have resources at your disposal that explain some of the most difficult instructional concepts that there are in ways that are more understandable. So, all right, we have a sheet full of these softwares and explanations about, let me see what you have here, contests and incentives, which you're going to touch on. But I want people to know that we're going to scan this document into the Facebook comments so that they can access it as well.
Yes, and I did ask the various campuses to send home login information yesterday so that the kids can have that login information over the break. So make sure to check your child's folders, Wednesday packets, that those went home.
So by chance, out of our 1,400 students, a couple of them don't do that, and yet their parents hear the podcast and they say, where's your ID and password? And they say, I don't know. What can they do during the holidays to try to get that information?
They can always email me. My name is Stacy Maxwell, and my email address is smaxwell@legacypca.com. And I would be able to look up that information, be able to send it to them.
So would you also put that on your document?
I sure will.
And that way they pull up the document, they have that. Can you talk about some of the ELA reading incentives that we have, please?
Well, currently we have a contest going on with Achieve 3000, and this is actually through Achieve 3000 company. And they are offering gift cards for those classes that earn the most completions of articles at 75% or higher. There is a caveat to this that all students in the class have to participate and all students have to complete at least 8 multiple choice activities in order for the class to earn the gift card.
Ooh, peer pressure.
Yes. And that is, the gift card goes to a classroom party. So the teacher can decide if they want to use it for a pizza party, whatever they want to do.
So what grades do Achieve 3000?
Grades 4 through 8.
Okay. Any other reading incentives? iStation do any?
A lot of the classrooms are doing their own incentives, so it varies by teacher. The math classes are doing Imagine Math, and they are doing incentives by teacher. And they can earn Imagine Math points, and for every 5,000 points that they earn, it's $1 towards any charity. So we have several classes that are currently donating their points to charity, so we're earning money for different charities as we're learning math.
Nice. So let's jump over to Ms. Fernandez, our math director. Can you add to some of what Ms. Maxwell has chatted about?
Yes, we do also have Brain Pop. And Brain Pop actually is for all content areas. It's also a software that we have that we purchased for this year. And it's all grade levels. So it's K-12. And there's science videos there. There are games that are in there also. There are lessons and quizzes that the kids actually can take anytime they log on to their account. So Brain Pop is also a real good resource for them to work on for this where we're off for the holidays.
So we have a lot of, it sounds like reading and math softwares. Did we get Brain Pop to sort of fill the gap with science?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we also have coding in there too.
Coding.
So which is a very big piece that we're trying to push for this year in science. They have a coding classes in there, video that you can watch. It talks about coding, and some quizzes and other games that are actually related to coding.
And let me just put a plug in. We have robotics teams at both campuses. I know Plano went to their first competition. Mesquite will be going in December. And then there's some more in January and February, I believe. So coding is the wave of the future. Matter of fact, if you've not heard this, in the next few years, coding will be taught in the lower grades like it was literature, like it was reading. That's how much our kids need to know coding. So be on alert that if that's not something on your radar, parents, put it on your radar, and we've made it easy for you by doing Brain Pop or offering Brain Pop to your child. What math competitions, science competitions do we have coming up?
For this year, we're going to launch the first district-wide Math Olympiad. and we're going to do it as a problem solving. One of the things that we actually have as we look at our students' performances, we really need to really hone into problem solving skills. So we created a legacy math problem solving template for this year, and we would like our kids to actually use that template to solve problems. So what we do is it's going to be a different kind of competition. Kids will actually videotape the responses to a problem that they choose to. And then they will go through the steps, and they will discuss it in a video. So we want them to actually videotape them explaining their answer as they solve that problem.
What grades is that for?
We're looking at, just to start, is 2nd all the way to 12th grade.
All right.
So hopefully we will get some really good results. So this holiday is the best time for their kids to actually think about, what problem will I solve? What will I solve? What will I do in this problem solving? Use my template, and how can I actually show my thinking and my process as I think through these questions?
Would you make sure that I get a copy of the template so that we can post it?
Yes, ma'am.
In the comments, so the parents can know what that template looks like. And science has similar competition?
They're doing their science experiment.
Science fair.
Yes, science fair. So it's coming up too. So one of the things that I spoke to Mr. Townsend, our director for STEM, is that we have to do math projects in there too as a part of our science fair.
So science fair is something that parents need to start thinking about, not so much parents owning science fair, but helping their child own science fair, because so many times we can tell. I will confess to you, especially in the lower grades, we know what parents have have owned the project, or we know what parents have let their child own the project. So the holidays is a good time to start thinking about science fair projects. Maybe if your kids are to the age where they can research science fair projects, please veer them away from volcanoes. We don't do volcanoes anymore. I believe, you know who does volcanoes? I believe the kinders who do a class science project, they're allowed to do volcanoes because they, that's very, very new science to them. But nobody else is allowed to do volcanoes and some of the more overdone projects. I challenge parents and students to find a science fair project that possibly aligns with some science labs that you've been doing this year. Or chat with your science teacher about any ideas that he or she might have around strong, solid science fair projects, which I believe we have to start thinking about in January, because we have 2 or 3 different science fair competitions that we take part in, depending on the grade level. So it is time to be thinking about that. Just like I mentioned previously, spelling bee and citizen bee. Okay. And where can people find the words to spelling bee?
We participate in Scripps National Spelling Bee, which their national competition is between May 26th and May 31st in Washington, D.C. We have to get students that qualify. So they go through our local bee first, which will be in January, and then they go through a regional bee, which is Dallas Morning News Spelling Bee. And if they qualify from there, then they go to the National Scripps Spelling Bee. You can actually find all the spelling bee words on Scripps website, and it's really easy to search. And
is it
all
by
the
grade
words
level?
Is by grade level. It's got pronunciation guides. It has everything that you would need to prepare your students for the spelling bee. And I've seen the school spelling bees, and they get really competitive. So we need to study up on those words.
Yeah, we would love to send a child to a national spelling bee. Ooh, parents. Woohoo. All right, we've talked about what resources we have. We've talked about the reasons to have study habits at home during the holidays. Now let's actually talk to a couple of scholars who actually do this at home. So, Monica, let's start with you, since you're sitting right here on my right. Talk a little bit about the routines that you have established at home to keep you ahead of the instructional game.
Well, first I basically do homework, because almost every day we have homework. And then I take time from playing. I do Imagine Math or Achieve 3000. And sometimes I don't really do it because I get bored, but I still go back to it the next day or a little bit later than that. Then I want to play with my brother or some stuff like that.
So what kind of success have you had with that kind of routine? in comparison, let's say, with other kids in your class?
Well, sometimes I'll be in first place, but sometimes I'll go down because I don't do it. But I'll normally be like in third or fourth place.
Out of all your classmates, you're staying up in the top 3 or 4. Is that time on it or items answered? Which?
It's lessons.
Lessons, okay.
And points.
Okay. Do you get extra points from your teacher for being on the softwares?
Sometimes in my grades.
Have you ever won any of the incentives?
No.
Not yet? Say not yet.
Not yet.
There you go. All right. So, Nina, talk a little bit about the routines that you have in your home.
I usually get home and I make sure that like I have my sister situated, and then I usually like eat and like I take like an hour to eat and like do like fun stuff after I get home.
Okay.
And then after that I usually like do my homework, and if I don't really have homework, I'll work on the websites like Think Through Math and Renzulli that I can use. And
Which is your favorite?
I like Renzulli
Why?
because it's more like fun things that I could go to websites and
It's more geared towards your interest area? Right.
it like chooses things that I would like.
Renzulli's a new software for the GT kids this year, and it's really been a big hit. So we're glad you like it. You still got to use the others.
Yeah.
the others help you to move forward academically, whereas Renzulli helps you move forward in the topic area of your project. What we've tried to do is to make sure that our GT kids don't ever run out of something to study around that project topic. So it sounds like we've hit on a good way of doing that. So, Mom, Miss Williams,
Yes.
talk a little bit about why you have routines at home and study routines for your kids.
I try to keep a routine in mind because if their brains are still to where they would prefer fun over responsibility. So it's easier if you give them maybe an hour or two a day during the holidays to say, okay, we're going to put the phone down and we're going to do some studying. Or since you're always on the phone, then I want you to use educational sites and applications in the areas that you are struggling in. Go back, look at some tests that you have taken and see where you were weak, and just to study and not become glued to the phone, because the holidays go quicker than you can imagine, and you'll get rusty if you just sit down and don't crack a book or read anything for 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. You know, as you were talking, it made me think of the fact that in the old days, during your time and even my time, that phone would have been replaced with the word television.
Yes.
But we don't say television anymore.
Right.
We say devices or phones, the new vice of the 21st century.
Yes.
Yeah. Is TV a problem in your home?
No.
It's fascinating. Isn't that fascinating? So what kind of routine do you have? What do you ask your kids to do during the holidays?
One thing is, in respect of the fact that it is a vacation, I will allow them to enjoy the vacation. But maybe once every other day, we can shut down on the electronics, take out the backpack, go through some of the papers that I have not seen, test scores, and where we're weak, we can use some of the phone time to become strong. If you're already struggling in a certain area, you definitely do not want to stop studying for 2 weeks, because when school starts back, it's going to be a very difficult adjustment. And also, maybe the first week they're out, say like for Christmas, I may give them the option of going to bed when they want to. But that second week, I knock the hours down that you go to bed, and by the time you're maybe 3 days until school, you're on your regular bedtime.
Very wise.
Yes.
Wow. So again, as you were talking, it made me wonder, do you get on the parent portal at all to look at grades?
No, I do not.
Because that's something that we need to remind parents that they have at their disposal. And we really count on parents to look at it for a couple of reasons. One is because I would love, in my perfect world, every parent is sitting down with their children every Saturday or Sunday, looking over what's been done the previous week, talk about any low grades, talk about any missing grades. And when that happens every week, then first of all, you have honesty that happens. It may not happen at first, because that's what parents tell me, that kids start fudging about the missing grades. But over time, they become very honest in why their grades look like they do, and what they're doing about it. And it helps with the communication between parent and teacher to say, hey, I'm looking and I'm not liking. What do I need to do to support this work? But the second thing is it helps keep teachers honest and get those grades in the portal in a timely manner so that you can have those timely conversations with your kids. So that's number one. And the second thing is, as you were talking, I thought, what you may not realize yet, I may not have said it enough, because not all parents remember that we offer college in 9th grade. One of our slogans is preparing elementary school children for 9th grade college. And we are actually starting 9th graders with credit courses in 9th grade. And the way we do that is by asking parents to help us get their kids academically strong enough to pass the TSI, which is the college entrance exam for the community colleges. They must reach a certain level score, a required score, and if they do, then they qualify to take the college course. And because we're T-STEM academies, the cohort last year started the requirement, the T-STEM requirement, that cohort must graduate with at least 15 hours of college credit. That's only going to get higher. So maybe Monica and Nina, by the time you guys get there, it may be that, because I don't remember from last year when the requirements bump up, but it's going to get to the point where the state of Texas will be requiring students to graduate with an associate's degree. And remember, this is paid for by the school, even the books. So it's a really big deal, and it should be a really big deal for parents. Unfortunately, I don't know if the concept is so foreign to parents or if they're just not believing. We literally had our salutatorian last year graduate with 60 hours, a full ride scholarship to Johns Hopkins Medical University. And so that's what we have to offer, all paid for by us. So I can't say the message enough about our college readiness need to prepare our kids to take the TSI at the end of 8th grade. So some of you may have heard me say this at the kinder graduations, the 8th grade ceremonies, whenever I can, so I can get parents to believe us and to help us prepare their kids for 9th grade college. One of the things that I haven't really said a lot about is reading. One of the things that we, again, sometimes we're too 21st century and we talk about our reading softwares, but there's nothing wrong with encouraging our children to start a chapter book when they're ready for that level, to read during the holidays. Just take 20 minutes to read. We know the research says that if they read an interest area book, their reading levels will go up over time. And so it's not only the magic of the softwares, but also the magic of holding a book in your hand in an area that you're interested in reading about and spending time reading. So making sure that I say that, let's not forget the good old books. One of the things that we do in the Ask Dr. Be Good show is that you get to ask me a question at the end of the show. So take a minute to reflect, because we are reaching the end. Remember, I told you 30 minutes feels like 5 minutes. So think about a question that you might want to ask me, and whoever's ready can go first. Monica, you got one?
When you were young, did you read a lot of books?
I was a bookworm. No question about it. I grew up in Latin America and Hong Kong and Singapore. I was 3 when we got to Argentina, and then lived in Mexico City, and then Bolivia, and then Hong Kong and Singapore. And sometimes we went to a private school, sometimes we went to an American school, but the emphasis was always on reading. And even though I grew up, actually, my first language was Spanish, and so I had some second language issues. But reading in both languages was something I learned early on in English and Spanish. And so that's one of the reasons I like to offer it to our kids. And now with the addition of Chinese, we all know that China is going to figure in our future soon, if not already. So we want to prepare all of our kids to be able to understand the culture and the language as much as possible so that they can navigate the business and the culture of China when it comes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Somebody else? Nina? I'll come back to you. All right, Ms. Williams?
I guess one question would be, since we have discussed how important it is for them to take some of their vacation time to study, perhaps during the year prior to the holidays, there could be some sort of incentive, because marketing works for corporations and incentives tend to work for children. So maybe just gearing them up for it over time, instead of waiting to the last day and say, okay, don't forget to do your project over the holidays or whatever, because children are used to being seen when they've done something wrong, but very seldom do they get the credit that they deserve, the pat on the back when they're doing something right. So just to keep them encouraged as much as possible.
Sure. Well, we hope that that's happening through their project presentations, that they're feeling good about the information, that the problem that they had to solve, right, and bringing the way that they solved it. I've been in many classrooms where I've seen presentations, and over time, kids get much more comfortable doing that. This coming to the podcast is a form of recognition of those kids who are becoming experts in certain areas. And I've got to tell you, I'm going to tell you a secret. When I first thought of this particular show, I thought more about parents than I did kids. And then Mr. Chaparro, who, when I sent out the, hey, I need top study skills information, what's going on, he was the one who brought me the names of the kids, and I went, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. So, I'm constantly being helped by the people around me to help us focus in on the kids and to showcase them. It is rare that we don't have a student on a podcast. I think maybe the very first one, maybe. But certainly we've been enhanced by having kids, the voice of kids on the show, and then parents. It makes us who we are. All right, thank you. Somebody else? Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Maxwell, Nina?
I have a question for you. Is there any kind of challenge that you could put out towards our scholars on doing the most programs at home?
Sure. I'm happy. Let's see. So let me think about that. Let me think how to do that. I'll think about that tonight, and we'll send out a bulletin, and I'll write a comment on that also with tomorrow's messengers about the superintendent's challenge to challenge kids. We'll identify by probably elementary, middle, and high school what kids in math and reading have completed successfully, not spent the most time, but completed the most lessons successfully. How's that? You're costing me money. All right. Thanks, Ms. Maxwell. Nina, got one?
My mom likes to see what my grades are on Skyward, but she doesn't really know how.
Okay.
And our report cards come on there, but it's kind of slow. She can't really see it.
So would it help if we had some screenshots of how to access it? Okay. Can we do that? Let's get some screenshots, and we can send those out in a messenger also, because I would absolutely love to have parents looking at at grades every week and chatting with kids about that. Thank you for that. All
And
right.
I have one question.
All right.
Okay.
Hit me.
So I would like to see us do a parent academy very soon,
Okay.
where we can actually help the parents help their kids, kind of like giving them some ways to help their kids at home.
You mean a night thing? I used to do
Yes.
that when I was principal.
Yes.
Back years ago.
So is that all possible, Dr. Good, to
I
have
think,
one
what did we
that we
call
can
that?
do?
Math demo night, I
It's
think.
a
and-
parent night, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a, yes.
Yeah, sure. You guys plan it. I'll
Yes.
come. Sure. And we'll even have snacks. So,
All right,
yeah,
that
I love
sounds
it.
good.
All right. Well, we have come to the end of our show. And I can't thank you enough, Monica and Nina, for, oh, darn, having to leave school early. Darn. But being here to focus in on how you study at home so that you can motivate other kids to study at home. Thank you, Ms. Williams, for being here, Ms. Maxwell, Ms. Fernandez. We have more information we didn't share with you because time is so short, but we will get those into the Facebook podcast and make sure that you have access to all this information about incentives and software information for what grade levels, etc. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.